Hi guys and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm here with my next Pan Those Eyeshadows update. I'm very excited to share with you where I am with the progress on the 5 eyeshadows that I've been working on, because I do think I have quite a good update today. So before I jump into the progress and anything like that, I'm just going to go quickly through the kind of rules of this project that I have set up. So I'm, like I said, working on 5 eyeshadows at any point in the time, and my goal with them is mainly to hit pan, but if I can't hit pan on them, my goal is 20 uses. I can choose to continue working on them after 20 uses, but that is kind of my minimum usage goal. I also am working off of Laney's prompts this year, and I will have her channel as well as her prompt list linked down below. Make sure to check her out. I love watching her videos, and this kind of prompt idea for the Pan Those Eyeshadows is such a good idea. Basically, instead of randomizing your eyeshadows, you randomize some prompts, and you can kind of then have some sort of guideline, so it's somewhat still random, but you have a little bit more control of what you're panning. And I found that doing it that way means that I can use a lot more of my kind of favorite shades, and I don't really end up having to reach for eyeshadows that I perhaps don't want to pan. And it kind of also means that I kind of my favorite eyeshadows kind of more often get chosen, which also means that they look more loved in my palettes, if that makes sense. So without any more rambling, I'm gonna jump into the eyeshadows. But before I do so, if you're new here, please consider subscribing. I would love to have you in the family. Let's jump into the video. So I'm going to jump into the first eyeshadow, which is actually a single eyeshadow, and this one comes from the Pastel Roses, and I rolled this eyeshadow in for an orange shimmer, and that is the Shadow Electric Orange from the Pastel Roses, which looked like this at the last update. This one isn't going to look any different actually. I have not used this at all this month, which is a bit disappointing. However, there is a reason why I haven't used it, and that is because I have actually decided to declutter this eyeshadow. It is nice. I will swatch it out in a second. It is very nice, but I don't know, I just have other things that I like more. It's very kind of satiny in the formula, and I like more sparkly things, which you might be able to tell from my look today. I don't know if you can pick it up on camera, but I do like more kind of sparkly eyeshadow and more textured things, and like, you know, this one is just a bit too satiny for me, and I feel like I have so many special eyeshadows in my collection and I just don't want to reach for this one. It is like this kind of orangey base, like you can see, like a sorbet kind of orange base with a pink shift to it, and I think you can easily replicate this by using like an orange eyeshadow with a red or pink iridescent on top, or I also have similar eyeshadows to this in a more sparkly formula. So I'm happy to let this one go, and that is why I haven't used this one anymore since last updates. And there you have that eyeshadow, so you can see hopefully a little bit at least that shift from orange to pink. The second eyeshadow that I have to talk about today is an eyeshadow from Colourpop, and this rolled in, instead of orange shimmer, it rolled in for orange matte, and that one comes from my Sweet Talk palette, again from Colourpop, and I rolled in the shade ICYMI, or In Case You Missed It, and that is what it looked like last month. It had been in for 1 month before, and I had used it 4 times in the first update, and I have used this one 6 additional times in the past month, and it now looks like this. So hopefully you can see that there is a dip starting to form. I don't think I'm close to pan yet, but at least there is some usage. I have 10 more uses left on this, or pan, and honestly I'm not sure what will happen first. This one might be one that I actually don't hit pan on before it rolls out, but we'll see. I'm gonna continue working on it. And for reference, that is the swatch right there on my hand, so you can see what it looks like. It's a bit of a deeper kind of orangey tone. I do like it, but I have been wearing kind of different things, which is why my usage isn't the best on this one. So yeah, this one will be staying in the project. And also, I forgot to say, but with the Pastel eyeshadow, I had used this one 5 times before deciding to declutter it. So 5 uses prior to this month, and then again 0 additional uses this month. So the remaining 3 eyeshadows were all rolled in at the last update, and the next one comes from my Beauty Bay Love Notes palette. And this one I rolled in, I believe, I tried to look back at the wheel, but I do believe I rolled this one in for Something Starting With B. And that comes from my Beauty Bay Love Notes palette, if I haven't said that already, and that is the shade Bellini. So Bellini looked like this as the last update, and I'm happy to say that this is what Bellini looks like today. So hopefully you can see there that I was actually able to pan on this eyeshadow, and it is now my 3rd pan in this palette. And with Bellini, it took me 6 uses to pan on. The Beauty Bay formula is, especially for the shimmers, is very, very easy to pan on. for most of them at least, and the pans are also very shallow, which is why I didn't take very many uses. And that right there is the swatch of Bellini. For the next eyeshadow, I will also roll in that for letter prompt. I think all of the many ones I rolled in for letter prompt, and this one I rolled in for starting with eye, and that is again from another Colourpop palette, and this is my Through My Eyes palette from Colourpop in collaboration with I Love Sarah E. And the eyeshadow that I rolled in is In a Wink. And In a Wink looked like this as the last update, so I had a little bit of use but nothing too much. And I have used this one 16 times since I rolled it in, and this right here is where it is today. So hopefully you can see there that there is a little bit of a glimmer of pan right there, and I was able to pan on it after 16 uses. This was a really easy eyeshadow to reach for. It's a very light kind of shadow. It's slightly too deep to be a setting shade, but I don't set my lids anyway, so I use this as like a first transition or like a blending out shade, and it was really beautiful to use, and it worked really well with the rest of the color stories you can see. So I got a lot of use out of this one. And yeah, it was quite easy to pan on, even though it took a few more uses than normal, I guess, for other shadows in this project. So that is another one that is going to be replaced at the end of the video. And then let's move on to the last eyeshadow. And the last eyeshadow, like I said, is also a letter kind of prompt, and that is for Q. And I rolled in the shadow Quartz from my Rose Quartz palette from Huda Beauty. This is what it looked like at the introduction. I had definitely used it, but not too much usage, I would say. And it is this one here in the corner, and you can see right there that I was able to pan on this eyeshadow as well, and it took me 7 uses to reach that pan. With the Huda Beauty palettes as well, I feel like the pans are quite shallow, and the mattes are super difficult to pan on because they are very hardly pressed, but when it comes to the shimmers, I find them relatively easy to pan on, and the same happened with this eyeshadow. I would say that this one was also a bit more kind of satiny, and it took a little bit more building up to get to where I wanted. I also topped it a lot with other eyeshadows because these didn't have the same effect that I wanted. And right there at the bottom you can see this shade Quartz, which also summarized my color story from last month. So this was a really fun color story to work on. I really enjoy this one. It's probably one of my favorite color stories that I created, and 4 of these will be rolling out. 3 of them I hit pan on, which is the bottom 3, and then the top one is going to be decluttered, and then this dark kind of orange shadow is staying in. So let me swatch that out on my other hand, and we're going to go ahead and randomize my new prompts. So here we have the swatch of it right there, and that is again is the shade ICYMI from Colourpop. So let me pull up my Tiny Decisions wheel, and we're gonna go ahead and just randomize some prompts. I have all my prompts in Tiny Decisions, like I said, and once I roll a prompt in, I do not roll it again. I just want to work on every prompt once. So let's just go ahead and randomize. I think there might be like 1 or 2 prompts that I already had, and if I get them again, and I know they're only 1 time in the wheel, I will go ahead and re-roll, but I think there's only, like I said, 1 or 2. So let's just go ahead and pick the first one, and we'll see what we get. A shadow starting with W. Okay, another letter prompt. I keep getting a lot of letter prompts, but that's fine. It makes it quite easy to find eyeshadows because I have them organized by letters in my spreadsheet. The second one is Random Color Generator. Okay, that's a fun one. So that's the next one. And then for the third eyeshadow, we're gonna get prompt Shadow from your favorite palette. Okay. I don't even know what my favorite palette is. I will have to have a think about that. Okay, so that is the third, and then fourth and final prompt is gonna be Shadow starting with you. Okay. So I've taken screenshots of all of those. Let me go ahead and have a... Actually, no. I need to randomize the color first, because that will also help with my color story, in knowing what I will have for a random color. So let me pull up a random color generator. Yeah, so the one I usually use is just, I just search for random color generator, and I believe it is this one here. You just press and it will come up with a color. Yeah, there you go. That is the color. I will insert a screenshot. It's like a fuchsia shade, I would say. It usually comes up better if I include a screenshot. So let me take a photo of it, and I will be able to include that in my next or in this video, what it looks like. So yeah, let me go find that color first, and then I will find out the other 3 shadows, and I will be right back. So that took a while, but I'm back. I did actually show out my color story, but this is probably the longest it's ever taken me to do my color story. I mean, it's not been too long, but it's been a little while. So I'm just gonna go ahead and show you the color story that I've chosen, because I'm very happy with it. Although it took a little while to kind of figure out, I'm very pleased. And this is the color story right here that I'm gonna work with over the next month. So that's the overview, and let me talk through each shade. So another rule that I didn't mention before is that I, at any point in time, always want to have 2 mattes in the project minimum, and that is because I'm just more prone to roll in shimmers, and I feel like shimmers for me are easier to pan, and I would feel like I would just have full kind of shimmer color stories otherwise. But apart from that, anything goes. So the first one, like I said on the top here, was the previous eyeshadow that I was rolling over, which was Alexy from Colourpop. But let's talk about the next shadow here, which is the second matte that I'm going to work on, and it actually comes from the same palette. So I rolled a prompt, something starting with W, an eyeshadow starting with W, and I didn't have too many eyeshadows to choose from, and it was quite hard to figure out what to roll in. But I decided to go with the shade Work It, which is this one right here, and I think this one will be nice because it will go quite nicely with the other matte obviously in this palette. And I feel like having both of these in means that I can reach for this palette as a whole a bit more. And it's a nice kind of summery shade as well. I'm not sure if I'll be able to hit pan on this one, same as with what's it called, the other one, the Alexy YMI. I keep forgetting what it's called, but I'm not sure because it is Colourpop matte. But even so, if I just get a dip, that is fine by me. So that is the first shadow that I'm rolling in, again from the Colourpop Sweet Talk palette. So the second prompt that I rolled in is the shadow random color generator or random color, and I did roll in this colors again, which I will have on screen. And rolling that color straight away, I opened up one of my big magnetic palettes of singles, because when you see the color story you're gonna know why. In here, as you can see, mainly on the bottom here, you can see I have a lot of colors like that. So I actually decided to go with one of these eyeshadows here, and the one I decided to go with is from the bottom row, and it's one of the shimmers that we put down the palette without dropping it. And it is actually from Terra Moons, and it's the shade Crimson Eclipse, which is like this. So again, pulling up the color generator, hopefully you can see there that they are very similar, hopefully. The thing with this one is so that it does have a shift. I don't know if you can pick it up, maybe if I hold it up here, sometimes you do. But it does go from like that kind of fuchsia pink to a gold, and it is absolutely stunning. It does also have like a slight green to it in at the very end, but I'm very excited to roll this one in, and I think it's going to be quite a nice one. And that is the swatch of it right here. It isn't the most kind of bright option, I would say, for that kind of shadow. I would say this is probably a bit more wearable because it is a bit more sheer, and it does have that shift also. But I'm very excited, and I'm very excited to roll in a bit more of my indie eyeshadows in the project, because I tend to neglect those in projects like this because I'm scared of using them too much, which is a terrible trait to have. But that is the next eyeshadow I'm rolling in. So after that, I roll in this shadow right here. You can see that one there, and this one comes from my favorite palette. And I initially thought like, oh, I don't know what my favorite palette is, but straight away my mind went to one palette, and instead of overthinking it and trying to like analyze every palette in my collection, I just thought, if my mind straight away thinks of one palette, that is most likely my favorite palette, because I did think of it straight away, and that is my Natasha Denona Gold palette. I again love this palette a lot, and I do want to reach for it more. I reach for it every now and then. You can see some dips in here, but I do want to show this one some more love. And since I can pick any shade in this palette, I decided to go with one of my favorites. I would say my absolute top favorite shadows for shimmers is this one here, and this one here. I was originally going to pick this one, but I think it's going to be too similar to a shadow that I have in my Perfect Level Up palette, which is the fourth shadow from the Colourpop The Child palette. So the one I decided to go with instead is this shadow here, which is, I think that is the shade Lime Chrome, isn't it? Yeah, that's the shade Lime Chrome. And I love that shadow. It does again have a little bit of a shift to it. It goes from like a green to like a pink shift, and it is stunning. I feel like this will work nice as a topper or as an Cleona highlight. It will be very versatile. I'm not sure if I'll be able to hit pan on this eyeshadow in 20 uses. I'm not gonna like force it. And these Natasha Denona palettes are both very, at least this palette is very, very pigmented, very creamy, and the pans are very deep as well. So again, I'm not going to be too upset if I don't hit pan on it, but if I have a decent dip in this palette at the end, I will be very happy. So that is the next shadow that I'm rolling in. The last eyeshadow that I rolled in was an eyeshadow starting with U. That is this eyeshadow right here at the bottom, and you can see the shadow there, and I think the name of the shadow kind of just shows in the swatch because the name is UV, and that is an eyeshadow coming from Cleona. I'm finally doing it. I'm rolling in one of my Cleona eyeshadows in here. And this is the shadow right here. So this is actually one of their iridescent eyeshadows. I do believe this is the series 2. Is it? I think it's series 2 iridescent. And yeah, basically it's just one of the kind of those shadows that looks really bright, kind of UV purpley blue kind of shadow. It doesn't have any shift to it really for being a multi-chrome, but it's such a stunning shadow. And I roll this in again to use as a topper and an Unicorn highlight. And again, I'm not too fussed about hitting pan on this one necessarily. If I can just get a good amount of use on it and a big dip, that would be amazing. And again, get some more use out of my indie eyeshadows. So that is again the color story that I'm rolling in, and I am so happy. I just feel like this is such a beautiful color story. It's a bit more versatile too than compared to the last one, and honestly, I said this one before was one of my favorites that I created, but I feel like this color story just, it's so beautiful. I don't know why, I just love it so much, and I feel like I can use all of these together, although I think, you know, you might not think that way straight away, because especially with this like bottom purple, I think maybe if you take it away, I feel like the other ones create quite a nice look, but even so, I think this one will create a really nice contrast on the inner corner. So yeah, I'm really excited to work with these colors, and for next update, I'm gonna try to have out the top shadow here because it's been in for 2 months already. It's gonna be the 3rd month it's in the project, and I need 10 more uses on that one or pan on it, so I'm gonna focus on that one a lot. And hopefully by doing so, I can include this shadow here quite a bit, as well as maybe this one will go quite nicely with those. I think this one will also pair really nicely with Venetian Red in my, is it Venetian Red or Love Letter? Love Letter in my 2022 Panda palette, which I'm still trying to finish, which is the Modern Renaissance palette. Those two should probably pair really nicely together as well, so I will try that. And then, you know, with these two kind of inner corner shadows, I don't know if I'll be able to get 20 uses on them in the 1st month, but I think you can get a lot of use out of both of those in the first coming month. But I'm not sure how good of update next month will be because I had 4 eyeshadow rolling in this month, but I'm still very excited, and let me know what you think of this color story. I am super pleased with it, and I'm excited to have a fresh new start with like new eyeshadows in this project, because I'm kind of tired of this color story, because although it's beautiful, it was very similar kind of tones, and I did hit pan on a few of these about a week or 2 ago, so it's been a while since I were able to like kind of play around with my Pan Those Eyeshadows color story, because I only had like 1 or 2 shadows left. So that is it for today, you guys. I really hope you enjoyed this video. I always keep forgetting to mention this, but I think everyone already know this, and I think that's why I forget to mention it, but I should still definitely do it because she needs more cred, and that is to Alexy, because Alexy is the creator of this project, and she doesn't really post anymore, but she still has her channel up. So if you want to check out her OG Pan Those Eyeshadows, make sure to check out her video, and she will be linked down below as well. But that is it for today, like I said, and I hope you're having a lovely day wherever you are, and I will catch you in my next one. Bye guys.